Hi everyone, welcome to this week's episode. I'm Rachel Jackson, and this week we are going to be diving into happiness. And are you truly letting yourself be happy and make that a priority in your life? I will explain what I mean by that, because often we think of happiness as something we strive for. We put it out as a goal, as something that we need to reach, and we can change it and let ourselves be happy today. Yes. Hopefully you are going to be 100% happier after this episode. I really hope you can see the light. Now, before we start, I've got some exciting news. I am relaunching the Manifesting Straight Talk Facebook group. So we have a community back, everyone. There is a place for you to go and share your wins, share your successes, share your ahas from this podcast. So please make sure you go and check that out. The links are in there. And I am having a special launch party on February the 10th. So make sure you are there, you are ready, you are raring to go, and you are ready to meet some amazing people. Now, let's dive into this week's episode. So I wanted to talk about happiness because I had a bit of an aha the other week, a bit of a wow, that was the thing that changed for me. That was the thing that really was pinnacle to my transformation. And what that was I decided to be happier, not just to say I'm going to be happier, but to make it a priority, to put it on my to-do list. For years, it was something I had never done. And that was because of multiple different reasons. And I will explain what mine were so that you can try and think about what yours might be. But the thing is, when we pinpoint the reasons of why we've maybe never prioritized it, what the difference is, it doesn't actually matter. It doesn't matter what your reasons were. It doesn't matter what happened in the past. What does matter is that you acknowledge it and you know that you can change it going forward. So for me, I grew up with a really strong mother, a really strong grandma, but they were very much in this mindset of the men come first. My grandma is so staunch on this. She is unbelievably favourable to men because of the way she was brought up too. And we would take her on day trips and we would take her out and we would spoil her and we'd be shopping and having the best time. And she would just sabotage her enjoyment by thinking, oh my God, has my husband had anything to eat all day? And this would be a constant worry she would be thinking all day long. She would never let herself be truly happy because she was always putting the needs of my granddad first. I grew up thinking, oh, I don't want to live like that. But really, I was learning that behavior. My mom had 4 kids. She worked multiple jobs. Happiness really wasn't high on her priority. What was high on her priority was making money for us all and keeping us all sane. Now, that was a job in itself, and that took its toll. And her happiness was never a priority neither. She had a good life, but it wasn't that she put happiness on her to-do list. She put getting the shopping on her to-do list, or cleaning the house on her to-do list, or doing everything on her days off because she was working 3 jobs. All of this stuff I watched growing up. She never drilled it into me to say, Rachel, this is how women live. This is how your life should be. But I saw it. I saw it with my own eyes. And I put the 2 and 2 together, that is how life should be. And women have it harder. Men often go out to work. Yes, they might have hard jobs, but then they come in and the women take over. That is what I saw growing up. And it really did leave its own mark. I ended up going through my life, doing things when I was single to make myself happy, or what I thought was making myself happy, but really having that underlying feeling of you're always meant to find that man. You're always meant to find that other person. And even though you might think, yes, you're in that place where you're single and loving life, and I did love my life as a single person. I traveled, I did some amazing stuff. But there was still that undercurrent of where my life was heading was always to marriage, always to kids, always to that way of being, never really thinking, is that what I want? Is that how I want to live my life? Is that going to make me happy? So I did the normal things that everybody does. I get the job, I settle down and get married. And, then the learned behaviors start to kick in. I suddenly start to put my husband's needs first. They are the most important thing. His happiness was core to my being. When he wasn't happy, he was an absolute grumpy-assed effer, let me just say. And I didn't want to be around that. So his happiness then become my goal. That was the thing that I really wanted him to have. And I used to come up with different scenarios of, oh, well, his background was different to mine, and I've had a more privileged background and all this stuff. So I would say, he needs a better chance. He needs the support. I'll give him that. And there was all these things that I would create, because that's what we do. We create these stories as to why we do the things that we do. We do it to make logical sense for our insane behavior, because ultimately at our root core, our happiness is our driving goal. That is our North Star. That is where we as souls are aligned to be. We are meant to be happy. We are meant to be joyful. We are meant to be abundant. Our soul is always calling that out. It's like a beacon system. It is always looking for those happiness. But what happens is your ego kicks in with that logician mindset. And the logician is one of the archetypes I talk about in the Magnificence program. So if you're not signed up to that yet, go and check it out. But this archetype, the logician, kicks in and goes, well, all these stories around, you've got to support your husband, or, he's had this background, you've had yours. It will come up with so many different definitions for you to be able to say that it's okay to put your happiness on pause. It's okay to put somebody else's happiness before your own. Now, like I said, you will have your own stories. You will have your own upbringing. You will have your own reasons for it. I was a middle child, so half of it was blamed on that. There's all these different things that your ego and your logician mindset or your victim mindset will kick in and tell you why you do the things you do and why it's okay to do the things you do. But actually, when we don't prioritize our own happiness, it doesn't become a priority for the universe neither. So the universe is constantly mirroring what we do. So when we say we are a magnet for good things, we are a magnet for our life. Imagine that the universe is mirroring what you do and feel. So if you are feeling like you are second best, like your priority of happiness isn't first, then the universe is going to bring you situations and a reality that basically looks like your priority is not first. You are not top of the list. And that is going to come out in everything you see and feel around you. And boy, that did for me. So because I wasn't first, I had multiple times where other people would get jobs over me. I'd make it feel like they were better than me. My husband constantly draining my emotions, my mindset, everything, because he wasn't in a place to get happy. It wasn't down to me to make him happy. It was down to him to make him happy. But because I kept pushing, it just wasn't the way to do it. So again, I was pushing and draining myself and really not getting any results off the back of it, or getting a slim glimpse of hope, when really it was because I was pushing the wrong person. I should have been pushing me. So there was all these different scenarios. I would miss out for things. I would feel like I couldn't, do certain things, or money wouldn't show up and I'd have to sacrifice going on holidays or going out with friends or doing all the things that did make me happy, because again, I wasn't putting that on my priority list. I wasn't saying that was something that I needed to have, because it wasn't something I was feeling inside. So the universe just mirrored everything I was doing to myself. It wasn't that the universe was creating these realities on their own. It was creating a mirrored version of what was happening inside of me. And that is exactly what it is doing for you. So if you are feeling any form of lack, any form of putting others first, anything like that, that is what's getting mirrored back to you. If you're feeling like you are too busy, you have too much stuff going on at the minute, you are getting that mirrored back to you, and the universe is just going to give you more and more and more, because it doesn't give you what you want. Ultimately, what we want isn't this life, but yet we don't know what we want because we're not prioritizing it. What it gives you is what you are doing, what you are being inside. It reflects that back to you. So this is where you've got to start to think, what are your key priorities? What are the things you want to see in your reality? If you want to see that good relationship, you've got to have that good relationship with yourself. You've got to know that you are the priority to receive love. You've got to put happiness on your to-do list. It's not something you strive for. It's something you make yourself do today. You could be happy at any point. Changing your thoughts and mindset can change your happiness, but deciding to be happy rearranges the universe and it starts to align. Decide that your happiness is the most important thing, and oh my God, will you see some changes? It really will start to step up. As soon as I decided that happiness was my priority, and I always laugh because it took for me to hear this on Love Island, of all shows. I heard the phrase, I'm happy, but I could be happier. Imagine that. I'm happy, but I know I could be happier. That was what kickstarted things for me. I felt that. I felt inside, like genuinely, I was happy to a degree, but I knew I could be happier. And I decided, why not try that? Why not try and be happier? So what that did was it took the focus of everyone else, and I said, I was trying to be happier. Me who had put everybody else before me and their happiness first. I was finally deciding that I was going to be happier. And to do that, it started to change my behavior. It started to change what I did. So before, where I would try and get involved in things to make my husband happy, I would ask him a question. I would say, well, what is it you want to do? And I would coach him back, which was foreign, even though I am a coach. But I started to coach him in the sense of, well, I've heard what you're saying there. What are you going to do about that? And it was such a change, because I then kept so firm in what I needed to do, because that wasn't a situation that I needed to change. It was something he needed to change to make him happier. Now, when you start to align and when you start to think you are going to be happier, you vibrate on a level of happiness. Suddenly your energy and everything that happens that you do, your patterns, your behaviors start to lift to this frequency of happiness. It becomes your new normal. Now, it's up to you to decide to dip back and forth. That always takes a decision. But if you are prioritizing your happiness, and you are the woman that prioritizes your happiness, you've got to decide, are you going against that, or are you going back to the old ways? Because by doing that, what I decided was I was just going to vibrate at that level of frequency. I wasn't going to try and get anyone else there. I was just going to shine myself. And that is what I did. I focused on me. I focused on my mindset. I focused on changing my behaviors. I focused on changing the way I looked at life. I put the work in and invested time and energy into me. I started taking courses. I started doing things I enjoyed. I started a hobby. I started making happiness a priority on my list. And everything around me changed. Yes, you all know my story, that my husband at the time isn't now who I'm with. And that was part of the choice of being happier. By opening up to this way of seeing that happiness was a priority, what I could see was we weren't making each other happy, and actually we weren't healthy for each other. So even though we ended up divorcing, it was the most amicable divorce, because actually we didn't need to feel bad about anything. It was just a case of, this isn't working. We're in bad habits. It's time to change. So even that changed for me, and that might be quite scary to hear for a lot of people, but I had this knowing that it was exactly the right thing, because I was prioritizing my own happiness for a change. And what you'll find is when you do that, things naturally drop away, change, evolve, but it's not a scary process as you're going through it. The scary process is where you're sat thinking of all the things that could go wrong and not doing anything that could go right. If I'd have sat there and somebody had mapped out my life, how it is now to the person I was then, I would have been petrified. Having a podcast, I'd have been telling myself, you hate the sound of your own voice. Why would you want a podcast? Nobody's going to listen to that. Leaving your husband. Are you crazy? You can't leave your husband. You can't do that. Going out with someone who's 12 years older than what are you doing? All this stuff would have literally been like, oh my God, no, stay where you are comfortable. But because it was an evolution of change, because I added happiness to my daily routine regular, it just happened so naturally. Everything changed, everything drifted away, and everything attracted in, which was so much more right for me than I could ever possibly have dreamed of. So please stop holding yourself back. Stop worrying about how the journey is going to feel, how things are going to map out, all the things you're going to have to sacrifice, all the things you're going to have to let go of. Because when you're at that point of decision, it doesn't matter. You don't feel that same pain, that same angst, that same worry as you are building up in your mind today. So the question is, are you going to start to prioritize your own happiness? Are you going to invest time, energy, and money into yourself to make you happier? Because that is the only way your life is going to change. If you continue on this spiral hamster wheel of nothingness, of feeling like things just happen, then yes, things are going to continue to just happen and you are going to continue to be second best. Whereas if you say that you deserve happiness, you are stepping into your happiness, you are stepping into your joy, and you are making that a priority no matter what. And if you've got kids, you are actually going to start to role model to them what happiness is by making you a priority. Wow, what a difference you're going to make to the world doing that. So I encourage you to prioritize your own happiness. Please, please, please do not ignore this episode. Do not go back to your life and just think, oh, yeah, I'll do something else. Step into it. What is going to make you happy today? Is stopping after this, going and making yourself a nice cup of coffee, smelling a candle? What is it? It could be so small, but start to prioritize it with little things each day. And believe me, you will see radical changes in your life as soon as you prioritize yourself and your happiness. So I hope this has inspired you to make some changes, to step forward and be the badass that you were actually brought here to be. Because I know you've got it in you. Please come and join the manifesting community. I cannot get my words out there. Please come and join the community. I've got so much coming this month. There is new courses launching. So if you are not on my email list, make sure you get them because I will be sharing everything on there with you and in the show notes. So go and check it out. Have the most amazing week. And please, let's make happiness a priority of yours. Bye.